Hi, this is Miss Bierman, and today we will be mixing tints and shades. I've got my palette, my paints, a few brushes, a white paper towel, and a piece of watercolor paper. Please make sure not to pour too much paint into the spaces in your palette. I don't fill them all the way up. You can always get more paint, but you can't put the paint back into the bottle. Notice I'm leaving some open spaces. I need those to mix the colors. I am getting my brush wet and then blotting it on the white paper towel. And now I'm going to make a shade of magenta. So a very tiny bit of black. It's so very powerful. So you can see I put a small amount of black in the center, and then I clean and get the water out of my brush. Now I'm going to scoop in some magenta, and then I'm going to gently mix it. Don't smash your brush as you're mixing. Make sure to mix thoroughly, and also try to mix in a small area. You need lots of areas to mix. On my test paper, I am making a brush stroke of this shade of magenta. Then I realized I forgot to put the plain magenta, so I'm adding that now. So you can see magenta in its pure form, and then the first shade of magenta. Next, I'm going to add a tiny bit more black to the shade I've already created, and I'll be repeating this process as I make the magenta a darker and darker shade. When mixing colors, it is important to put the dark color into the light color. For instance, using magenta, the magenta is lighter than the black. So put the black into the magenta. Another example would be making a tint. So a shade is a darker version of a pure color, and a tint is a lighter version of a pure color. Before you make your tints, be sure to wash your brush thoroughly. You've got very dark colors on your bristles. Wash the brush thoroughly and then dry it on your white paper towel. I'm going to scoop some of the white into another area of the palette because I'm going to need more of that white later. Cleaning my brush thoroughly, and then white is lighter than magenta, so magenta goes into the white. And now I'm going to mix that gently without smashing the bristles of my brush. Metallic colors such as gold benefit from having more than one layer. It will become nice and solid and shimmery. Here I am adding one layer of gold, and then I'm going to let it dry before I come back and do the second layer. Be sure to wash your brush and dry all of the extra water before moving on to a new color. Next, I am using turquoise with black to create shades, turquoise with white to create tints. I chose turquoise, magenta, emerald green as the colors I am testing because those are quite similar to the palette of the medieval artwork we've been studying. So using the black to make the green darker to nice forest green, evergreen. For the gold, I'm putting a second layer on and letting it dry. Then I'm using my paints for a little stretch and explore, just checking out how I might use the palette or the color palette that I mixed up. I wasn't crazy about this Stretch and Explore. I didn't keep it, but I liked the first one that I did. Then I practiced blending a few colors. That's dark green and magenta, blending them in the center to see what I get. Kind of a neutral greenish black. Before I move on to my next colors, I thoroughly wash and dry my paintbrush. Next, I use a combination of turquoise and gold, and then a combination of gold and violet. A third layer of gold. With the gold and other metallics, I let each layer of paint dry before adding the next. You will take your wet paintings over to the drying rack, and when you put your art on the drying rack, you're going to start from the bottom and make sure there's only one artwork per slot. Note how when I put the art on the drying rack, I make sure the art sits on the two bars that I'm pointing at in each slot. If you don't place your art on those bars, it may fall through the drying rack, in which case it can smear your artwork or the artwork of other students. Next, using one of the two trash cans, scrape out as much paint as you can from your palette. Use your brush, but use it gently. Don't smash the bristles. Don't make a big giant mess as you remove the paint. Please use your paper towel to wipe out as much of the paint as you can, and then throw that into the trash can. You will then place your palette in the bucket of soapy water along with your paintbrushes. You will not wash out your paintbrushes or your palette due to time constraints. Do pour out your used paint water and give it a rinse with a bit of water in the bottom. Please do that so the cup is clean for the next student. Put all of the paints away into the caddies and make sure the caddies are on the counter where it says Tempera paints only. Then use the pink spray and a rag to thoroughly clean your table. Place the pink spray and the rag back into the container near either of the sinks. And finally, wash your hands when you are finished cleaning up and putting all of your things away. Thank you so much for watching my video, and thank you for cleaning up our art studio really well and on time. Have a wonderful day. Bye.